Men and women over 60, let me ask you something. How many hours do you spend each day sitting in your favorite chair? Maybe in front of the TV. Maybe at the dining table. Maybe by the window with a book in your hand. It feels harmless, right? After all, sitting is resting. But here's the shocking truth. One simple sitting position, something you might be doing right now without even thinking, could quietly raise your risk of a stroke while you sleep. No pain. No warning. Just a silent danger building up inside your body. Now, I know that sounds unbelievable. You might be thinking, come on, doctor, how could sitting in a chair do something that serious? But I've spent more than 30 years working with seniors, helping men and women just like you protect their brain and heart health. And I've seen cases that would break your heart. People who thought they were safe, only to wake up one morning unable to speak, unable to lift an arm, or struggling to walk. And when we traced it back, it wasn't just high blood pressure, it wasn't just cholesterol, it was also the way they sat, day after day, year after year. And that's why I need you to stay with me. Because what I'm about to share with you isn't common knowledge. You won't hear about it in most doctors' offices. Even many physicians overlook it. But for seniors, it matters more than you realize. Every year, thousands of strokes could be prevented with simple changes, and one of them has to do with how you sit. By the end of this video, you'll know 5 common sitting habits that may be quietly increasing your risk of stroke overnight. You'll also learn how to recognize the hidden warning signs and what small adjustments you can make to protect your independence, your memory, and the life you've worked so hard to build. But before we dive in, I want to know, are you ready to take this seriously? If you are, type "I'm here" in the comments right now. And make sure you subscribe to Golden 70s Health so you never miss a simple, science-backed tip that could save your health, your independence, and maybe even your life. Let's start with the first and perhaps most common sitting habit that silently raises your stroke risk: sitting for hours without moving. Picture this: a retiree settles into his recliner after dinner. The evening news rolls into a game show, then into a late-night drama. 4 hours pass, but he hasn't stood up once. It feels relaxing. It feels deserved. But the next morning, he wakes up with swollen ankles and a dizzy spell he can't explain. To him, it seems random. To me, as a doctor, it's a classic warning sign. Here's what happens inside the body when you sit still too long. Your blood is meant to keep flowing, delivering oxygen and nutrients everywhere, especially to the brain. But when you sit motionless, gravity pulls blood into your legs. Your muscles aren't contracting to help pump it back toward your heart, so circulation slows down. And in that stillness, your blood has more chances to pool, thicken, and form tiny clots. Most of the time, you don't feel it. No pain, no alarm bells. But those clots can travel. And if one moves upward while you sleep and lodges in a vessel in your brain, the result can be devastating, a stroke that changes your life in an instant. Now, the dangerous part is this: most people believe stroke risk is only tied to high blood pressure, cholesterol, or maybe family history. Those are real risks, yes, but sitting still for hours is just as serious. The body wasn't designed to be idle for that long. Movement is what keeps blood flowing smoothly. Without it, your risk rises silently, especially after 60 when vessels are already stiffer and blood naturally becomes thicker. The good news? The fix is surprisingly simple. You don't need to run a marathon or buy expensive equipment. All it takes is breaking up those long sitting hours. Stand up every 30 to 45 minutes. Even if it's just to walk to the kitchen, stretch your legs, or march in place for a minute, it makes a huge difference. Gentle movements, flexing your ankles, lifting your knees, circling your arms, are enough to get circulation moving again. Think of it like pressing a reset button for your blood flow. So next time you're watching TV, set a small reminder. When the commercial break comes, stand up. When you flip the channel, stretch your legs. You may not feel the benefit immediately, but your brain and heart will thank you over time. Because protecting yourself from stroke isn't about big dramatic changes, it's about small, consistent actions that keep your blood moving. And this is just the beginning. Because it's not only about how long you sit, it's about the position you choose while sitting. And the next habit may surprise you, because it's one that almost everyone does without thinking. Now let's talk about another sitting habit that feels harmless, even polite, but can quietly work against you: crossing your legs. I'll never forget one of my patients, a kind grandmother who loved spending her afternoons reading on the porch with her legs neatly crossed, just as she had done for years. She told me it made her feel comfortable, balanced, even graceful. But one evening, she noticed a tingling in her calf that wouldn't go away. Soon, her ankle swelled, and by the time she sought help, a clot had formed in her leg. What began as a simple sitting habit had turned into a serious health scare. Here's what happens in the body. When you cross your legs, especially at the knee, you put direct pressure on the large veins in your thighs and hips. These veins are responsible for carrying blood back up to your heart. When they're compressed, blood flow slows down. In younger bodies, the vessels are more flexible and blood tends to move quickly enough to recover. But after 60, circulation isn't as resilient. The walls of your blood vessels are stiffer, your blood is thicker, and recovery is slower. That means the longer you sit cross-legged, the more your blood begins to pool, and the greater the chance it thickens into a clot. The dangerous part is that most people think of crossing their legs as nothing more than a posture choice. We do it without thinking, chatting with friends, sitting at church, reading a book, waiting for a doctor's appointment. It feels like a comfortable habit, maybe even a sign of good manners. But after 60, the circulation system doesn't forgive these small choices as easily as it once did. What looks like comfort can actually become quiet strain on your veins. So, what's the solution? It's not about sitting stiffly or feeling awkward. Instead, try keeping both feet flat on the floor. If you're sitting for longer periods, place a small cushion or rolled towel behind your lower back. This helps your posture feel natural without needing to shift or cross your legs. If you're short and your feet don't quite touch the floor, use a small footstool so your legs rest evenly. These small changes reduce the pressure on your veins and keep blood flowing smoothly. And remember this: comfort should never come at the cost of your circulation. The habits that once felt natural in your 40s or 50s can carry bigger risks in your 70s. Adjusting them now is about protecting the independence you want to keep for years ahead. But leg crossing is just one part of the story. Because while it slows blood in your legs, there's another sitting habit that puts direct strain on your neck and the very arteries that feed your brain. And this one has become more common than ever in today's world. Now I want you to picture this. You sit down with a good book, or maybe you're scrolling through your phone, or even working on a crossword puzzle at the kitchen table. An hour passes, maybe two. Your head has been bent forward the whole time, chin nearly touching your chest. You don't notice it while you're lost in your reading. But later, you stand up with a headache. Your vision feels blurred. You rub your neck and think, it's just stiffness, nothing serious. But what if I told you this simple position could be quietly restricting blood flow to your brain? Here's the truth. When you spend long periods with your neck bent forward, you're not just straining muscles, you're pressing down on the vertebral arteries, the very pathways that carry oxygen-rich blood into the back of your brain. These arteries run through the small bones of your neck. When the head is tipped forward, especially in seniors whose vessels have already lost flexibility, those arteries can become compressed. The flow of blood slows down, sometimes by as much as 30 to 40%. And when blood flow slows, the brain doesn't get what it needs: oxygen, nutrients, circulation. Over time, this creates the perfect storm for dizziness, memory lapses, or even clots that may lead to a stroke. Many people dismiss this as nothing more than tech neck, a modern complaint of younger people glued to their phones. But in older adults, it's not just about posture or a stiff neck. It can be dangerous. Reduced blood flow at this stage of life doesn't just cause soreness, it can become the tipping point for a serious health event. The problem is silent, and that's what makes it so risky. You might not feel the damage building until it shows up as something far more frightening. The good news is you don't have to give up your favorite hobbies or reading time. You simply need to change the way you position yourself. Hold your reading material up at eye level. If you're on your phone or tablet, rest your elbows on the arms of your chair or a cushion so you aren't always looking down. Adjust your chair height so that your gaze is straight ahead, not downward. And if you're sitting for a long while, use a small pillow or rolled towel behind your neck to support the natural curve, keeping your head aligned with your spine. These small changes can make a profound difference in circulation and comfort. Remember, it's not about never looking down, it's about not letting your brain go without good blood flow for hours at a time. Your mind deserves better than that. And while neck strain is one danger, there's another habit millions of seniors have adopted, one that feels comfortable, even safe, but may quietly increase the chance of clots forming while you sleep. It has to do with the very chair you sit in every night. Let me share a story with you. I once had a patient, a sweet woman in her late 70s, who had hip surgery. Lying flat in bed was painful, so she moved to her recliner. At first, it was just for a week, then a month, then years. She felt safe in that chair. She told me it was the only way she could sleep through the night. But one morning, she didn't wake up the same. Her daughter found her confused, her hand trembling, her words slurred. At the hospital, scans revealed she'd had a mini-stroke. The cause wasn't her diet, and it wasn't her heart. It was her sleeping position in that recliner. Here's what happens when you sleep upright in a chair or recliner. Gravity does what it always does. It pulls blood down into your legs and hips. When you're lying flat in a bed, your circulation evens out, but in a recliner, your lower body becomes a trap for blood. Blood begins to pool. Circulation slows. And as it sits there, your blood has more chances to form clots. In younger bodies, this isn't as big of an issue, the veins bounce back, the blood moves. But in seniors, where vessels are already stiff, where blood is already thicker, it's a different story. A clot can form quietly in the night and then dislodge in the early morning hours when blood pressure rises naturally. By the time you open your eyes, the damage may already be done. And here's where the misconception comes in. Many seniors believe that recliner sleep actually helps them. They say it eases their breathing. They say it reduces acid reflux. And in some ways, it can provide temporary comfort. But comfort isn't the same as safety. Recliner sleep creates circulation traps that the aging body struggles to escape. What feels like relief in the moment can carry hidden risks that only reveal themselves when it's too late. So what can you do if lying flat feels impossible? You don't have to give up elevation, you just have to do it wisely. Instead of sleeping in a chair, use a wedge pillow or an adjustable bed that lifts your torso gently without folding your hips or compressing your legs. Keep your legs stretched out fully, not bent at sharp angles. And if you must rest in a chair during the day, make sure you stretch and move your legs every so often to encourage healthy circulation. These adjustments keep blood flowing evenly and give your brain the oxygen it needs to restore itself overnight. Remember, sleep is supposed to heal you, not harm you. The position you choose matters more than most people realize. And yet, there's one final sitting habit I want to share with you. It's something that looks so harmless, so ordinary, that many people don't give it a second thought. But it may be the most overlooked risk of all. I remember working with a veteran, a strong, proud man who had lived through more than most of us could imagine. He had a habit of sitting in his chair every afternoon and resting his arm underneath his body, wedged tightly between his torso and the armrest. To him, it was just comfortable. It gave him support as he dozed off in front of the TV. But what he never realized was that this simple habit was quietly starving his brain of blood flow. One day, he woke up unable to move one side of his body. The scans showed a clot, and when we traced it back, the way he sat every single day had been a major factor. Here's why. When you compress your arm under your body, you're not just pressing on muscle. You're pressing down on the arteries and veins in your shoulder and upper arm. These vessels are like highways, they move blood to and from your brain. When they're squeezed too tightly, circulation slows or even stalls. In younger bodies, vessels are flexible, and blood usually finds a way around the blockage. But after 60, those vessels are stiffer, and the blood is thicker. That makes recovery slower and clots more likely. And once a clot forms, all it takes is a simple shift in posture or the morning rise in blood pressure to send it upward toward the brain. Now, here's the mistake most of us make. We think that tingling or numbness in an arm is nothing more than a sign that we've sat funny. We shake it off, we laugh about it, and we go back to sitting the same way. But what you don't see is the damage building quietly over time. Repeated compression weakens blood flow, stresses the vessel walls, and creates the perfect environment for clots. It's not just temporary numbness, it can leave lasting damage. The fix is simple, but it requires awareness. When you sit, let your arms rest naturally at your sides. Use the armrests of your chair to support them, or place a soft cushion beside you so your arms aren't squeezed beneath your body weight. If you're prone to nodding off in your chair, take a moment before you close your eyes to make sure your arms are relaxed and free. These small adjustments can keep circulation strong and protect your brain from unnecessary risk. And this is the truth I want you to remember: these habits may sound small, even trivial. But small things add up. And for seniors, the difference between a small adjustment and ignoring the problem can be life-changing overnight. I know this is hard to hear. The idea that something as ordinary as sitting, something you do every single day, could quietly put your brain at risk feels overwhelming. It's not easy to accept that the chair you love, the habits that feel natural, or the positions that give you comfort could also carry hidden dangers. For many people, this realization comes too late, after a health scare or a hospital visit. But for you, hearing this now, it's a chance to act before it happens. And here's the perspective I want you to hold on to: this isn't about fear. This isn't about taking away your comfort or your routines. This is about protection. Knowledge is power. The more you know, the more you can do. Every time you stand up and stretch, every time you uncross your legs, every time you adjust your chair or lift your book to eye level, you're not just making a small move. You're making a decision that protects your brain, your independence, your ability to wake up tomorrow and live life on your terms. Think about what's truly at stake here. It's not just avoiding a stroke. It's keeping your memory sharp enough to tell stories to your grandchildren. It's keeping your balance steady enough to walk through the park with your partner. It's keeping your speech clear enough to laugh with your friends. These aren't small details, they are your life. And the way you sit, the way you care for your body in these quiet, ordinary moments, plays a bigger role than most people ever imagine. So, I want you to see every adjustment you make not as a burden, but as an act of love. Love for yourself, love for the people who depend on you, love for the life you still have to live. When you straighten your posture, when you stretch your legs, when you protect your neck, you're giving yourself the gift of more time, more strength, more freedom. And here's the most hopeful part: it doesn't take huge effort. You don't need to buy expensive machines, you don't need to learn complicated exercises. All it takes is awareness. Awareness of how you sit. Awareness of when to move. Awareness of what your body is asking for. With that awareness, your later years don't have to be marked by decline or loss. They can be strong. They can be clear. They can be full of life, full of dignity, and full of the independence you've worked so hard to keep. To bring everything together, let's take a quick moment to recap what we've covered today. We've talked about the hidden risks that come from long hours of sitting without moving. We looked at how crossing your legs can quietly reduce circulation. We explored what happens when your neck is bent forward for too long. We saw why sleeping upright in a recliner, though it feels comforting, can turn into a circulation trap. And we uncovered how something as small as tucking your arm under your body can compress vital blood vessels. Each of these habits may seem harmless in the moment, but together, they can quietly raise your risk of a stroke. The encouraging part is this: with simple changes, you can turn these risks around. Now, I'd like to hear from you. Which of these habits surprised you the most? Was it the long sitting hours, the crossed legs, or maybe the recliner sleep? And do you think there are other sitting positions we should be paying attention to that might carry hidden risks? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story, your experience, might be the very thing that helps another senior take action and protect their health. And if you found today's video helpful, I invite you to join our community here at Golden 70s Health. By subscribing, you'll get more science-backed tips on how to stay strong, sharp, and independent after 60. We're building a space where seniors can learn, share, and support one another, and I'd love for you to be a part of it. So thank you for spending this time with me today. Your health, your independence, your life, they're worth protecting. Stay strong, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video.